The main source of income instability is occupational instability. So it is basically the main source in a region that Latin American, and the main source of occupational instability is actually the large share of the informal sector, because there is this occupation, this informal occupation, and short-run occupation, the people here have no kind of security on his occupation. On top of that, the region has traditional experience important macroeconomic instability that also led to income insecurity. On the one hand, large inflation rates that not now but some decades ago also produced important changes in the short run in the stability of the real incomes, and also the changes in the rate of growth produces also modification in the rate of growth of the occupations. So I would say that there are macroeconomic causes and the structure of the labor market with a larger share of the informal sector. But also the formal occupation in regions like Latin America used to have less stability than in the developed countries, given the lack of adequate coverage by the labor legislation. These are the sources of income instability. What actually have a greater impact is that the size of and the coverage of the protection system, the social protection, is also very scarce. It's not as big as it should have to address this issue of instability of income, of income generated by the labor market. Yes, Latin America has experienced important improvement during the last 10, 15 years on both sides, both on the functioning of the labor market and on the social protection system. On the labor market, it has also to do with improvement in the general economic situation. Growth was important and sustained during the beginning of the new century. Inflation get down, but this condition translate into more and better employment. The share of formal workers rose by 10 points from 40% to 50%, more or less, because figures are not always comparable. So on this side, we have at least a little more of formal employment than a decade ago. So this in itself produced less mobility. On the side of the social protection system, there were certain developments like the system of cash transfer, conditional cash transfer, that act as a way of reducing the instability for those coverage by the process. And there, in some countries, there were certain increase in the coverage of unemployment protection system and other more directed to formal workers. Even this improvement, one have to say that the general panorama of social protection for informal workers is still relatively weak. The large proportion of informal workers who face the larger probability of ending the job in the short run has not appropriate measure to be covered, to receive some kind of compensation when they end up a job. And this is perhaps the main challenge the protection system faces in the near future. The way you can advance will be difficult. This is an issue that in itself it's difficult to be addressed. This is why I would say that the main point in the agenda will to reduce the informal sector, but this will take a long time. So what you could do is on the side of generating income to those in the informal sector who during the period of when they exit from unemployment, this is the possibility of enlarging this kind of public work programs and associated this program with mechanism, with scheme that allow at least part of them to enter in a kind of program that provides some cash transfer while they either work or either be on a training process. These are some experience in Argentina at least, but what the problem is they are relatively very, they are not cover a lot of the target population, but this is one of the possible avenue to try to address this issue of the high turnover of the informal workers. The other alternative that also many countries are trying to follow, and some important improvement have been get during the last 10-20 years, is to improve the quality of mainly the quality, but also the coverage of the health system, because one of the problems with the informal sector is that they are not covered by the social security system, and they have to go to the public provided services, which are generally of very low quality. The country has work in trying to reduce segmentation in the quality of the health system, and there are some good examples of really good work and good results in some of the countries, especially in certain areas as child and maternal health. And the other difficulty facing the informal worker is when they reach the age of retirement, because they haven't have the possibility of contribute to the social security system. All the systems are based on social security. They are unable to get pension when they reach this retirement age. And I would say that various countries in the region has generate some kind of non-contributory mechanism, non-contributory pillars within his whole system of social security, and allow many workers who were not eligible for the regular social security system to receive at least a pension of obviously lower amount than the regular one, but which reduce the income stability when we look at not just 1 year or the other, but through the whole life of the life of a given person. The young people face the greater difficulties. The share of informality is larger. Also, one issue we don't mention that is also causing certain instability is this non-regular form of employment within the area of formal workers, and the share of this issue, informality and non-regular form of employment, are higher, have a large incidence within the young people. Yes, this is an area which needs to be addressed, but it's also a very difficult one. So you have there to combine educational policies together with labor policies in order to improve the quality of the jobs finally the young people get, because the worst combination is young person without enough education coming from a poor household. This is the worst combination, because he or she is pressed to get whatever job, whatever it is, whatever the quality, general and informal, and this not only provide low quality job at this moment, but also reduce the possibility of in the future be eligible for better jobs. So the problem with the low quality job during the first stage is that they it's a kind of scar that the young get for the future, and there's certain studies that show this negative influence of the first job over the future. There is certain discussion about if they could the alternative could be to provide them with this non-regular form of formal job, but there is also a discussion about how good this will fare for the future for the young